Hey everybody, welcome to Lent. What are you giving up for Lent? All right, that's what we're going to dive into today, giving things up for Lent. And a lot of times the outside world, they look at Catholics as this great little novelty, right? We have this whole season where we give stuff up and we can't eat meat and all this kind of weirdness. And I just want to kind of help talk through what we're going to be giving up. And if you haven't decided yet what you're going to be giving up for Lent, maybe this insight will help a little bit in making that decision. Oftentimes people will give things up like sweets, right? Sweets, which is actually kind of a great thing to give up if you're the kind of person who eats a lot of sweets. If you're giving something up that's very specific and very particular, right? Like giving up black jelly beans, and you are not the kind of person who ever eats black jelly beans, then giving that up is really no challenge for you, right? There's no real value in giving that kind of thing up. However, if we pick something that we do on a regular basis, right? Something that we hold dear, something that we cherish, something that we treasure, if we take that thing and we intentionally say, no, I'm not going to do that, then I think there's a tremendous benefit and a tremendous good that can come out of that Lenten practice. So for example, one year I gave up listening to the radio in my car. Now, I wanted to just focus on either listening to spiritual content, right? There's an amazing array of podcasts about the faith and about growing closer in prayer and all kinds of things. There's also great music that draws our heart into worship of our Lord and into a time of prayer. So there were other things that I could listen to, but I had no idea how enslaved I was to listening to the radio. Like no clue. Because I sat down on the very first days of Lent, and every single time I got in the car, right, I would have the inclination to turn on the radio. No, don't do it. I would drive like a block away to the first stop sign, and like my muscle memory and my subconscious immediately reaches for that radio. No, don't do it, right? Between St. Bridget and my house is a 6-mile drive. I would try and turn on that radio about 15 times. And every single time was a reminder that, one, I can control my actions. I don't have to be a slave to this thing. Two, every opportunity that I have to say no is an opportunity for me to say yes to prayer with God, right? And so now is just a time for me to turn my heart and just recognize the fact that we're in the season of Lent, a season that calls us closer into relationship with God. And so I was able to kind of take that moment and pray for somebody, right? Offer a little bit of prayer, just recognize and check in with God 15 times throughout the course of my drive. The other thing that enabled me to do, right, is to call to mind the fact that there are people who don't have the luxury of choosing to say no to things. And that was one thing that was revealed when I was in college. A bunch of my roommates and I, for Lent one year, we gave up sleeping in our beds. Now that is ridiculous, right? That sounds kind of crazy. But the whole idea was we were thinking about all the people around the world who don't have beds. Right? People who sleep on the floor, children who sleep on the floor, their families can't afford beds, whatever the case might be, the homeless, people who sleep on the street. And so for the entirety of Lent, we lay down on the floor and that's where we slept. And every night you go to bed thinking about how much your knees hurt or your hips hurt or your head hurts or whatever the case might be. And you're able to take those moments and offer them up and experience what it's like to walk in the shoes of somebody who doesn't have that as well. And that draws us into understandings of being compassionate to the poor and to the people who live in flight and the people who are just going without. And I think that's tremendously, tremendously important. And so this Lent, whatever you choose, I want you to choose something that is going to challenge you, something that's going to give you an opportunity to kind of exert some self-control and some self-mastery. And that every time you're tempted to do that thing, and it should be fairly frequently, right? Every time you're tempted to do the thing that you've given up, allow that to be a moment of prayer so that we turn our hearts to God. We recognize that He is always paying attention to us. He's always having a conversation with us. We're the ones who aren't engaging in the conversation. So we turn our hearts to God and we enter into that conversation and we have that little bit of prayer time throughout the course of our day. And suddenly, to all of those people on the outside of the church who think that Catholics just give things up for no reason, who have a bunch of rules that have no arbitrary, no real purpose in life, suddenly we start to realize that the things we say no to have a beautiful, beautiful gift on the other side. And they unite us with our God. They unite us with our fellow humans, right, on earth. And they draw us into real freedom, the ability to say no to our own desires and our ability to say yes to God. God bless you. We're praying for you this Lent. Have a great, beautiful Lenten season. God bless.